Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us for today's webcast, Enhancing Library Efficiency Through Community-Driven Development, presented by Ex Libris and Library Journal. I am Joshua Bean, webcast manager for Library Journal, and I will be your moderator. We'll get started with the presentations in just a moment, but first, I'm going to cover a little bit of housekeeping for you. So the layout of your screen is completely customizable, and you can resize any of these windows and move them around, so feel free to adjust them as needed. If you close any of the windows and you want to reopen them, you can find them down at the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to chat with your fellow attendees during the webcast, we encourage you to do so using the attendee chat window. But if you have any questions for the presenters during the webcast, be sure to submit your questions through the Q&A window, and you can put those in there at any time, and we will address them towards the end of the webcast. If you want to download a copy of the slide deck, you can find that in the resource list window, and you can grab your continuing education certificate from the certification window once you've met the viewing requirements. If you'd like to share this event on social media, you can do so using the hashtag LJXLibris. Be sure to tag us at Library Journal. If you have any technical difficulties, check out the help widget where you can find the system requirements and the FAQs. Usually just refreshing the page on your browser, reloading it, will resolve most of the glitches that you might experience with the webinar platform. But if not, you can send me a note through the Q&A window and I'll do my best to help you out. Okay, we got that out of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand things over to Noam Fass to get things started. So take it away, Noam.
Thank you, Josh. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Noam Fass. I'm part of Alma's product management team, and I will be moderating today's session, where we'll discuss how the library can enhance its efficiency through community-driven developments, meaning what are the ways for you as a community to define, fine-tune the platform's roadmap in order to address your library's needs. In today's session, I will be accompanied by 5 panelists from various institutions. Catherine, Christina, Charlie, David, Alan will try to answer some of the questions and present you with their experience working with Ex Libris, as an experienced community member. These panelists will assist you to better understand how you can use the various engagement options and impact the platform roadmap. There will be a Q&A portion at the end of this panel, so feel free to share your questions via the Q&A window. Before we start this session, I would like to quickly present you with 3 slides regarding the community's engagement. This slide shares a few numbers presenting how large the community is, how engaged the community is, and numbers regarding the community participation in community-organized conferences like Iluna and Igloo. As you can see, these are large numbers which grow as time goes by. I personally remember seeing the number of participants in Igloo and Iluna 7 years ago when I joined Ex Libris, and now I see the growth comparing to the 2 conferences which were organized by the community in 2023. Which brings me to a good time to pause and thank you for all of you who are taking the time to actively work and participate in various engagement groups in order to assist the platform grow and be more efficient, address your needs, and by that support the greater library mission. Now I want to present you the last slide, which for me is the most important slide, because I want to present you what is the workflow that Ex Libris is taking when they define either a small feature or even refactor a whole page. So what you see here is a circle. This is what we do when we define or work on any enhancement. We're going to start with the top left corner with the discovery phase, where we in Ex Libris internally are reviewing all the sources that we have, like the working group, ideas exchange, nurse request, any information that we have regarding a certain enhancement or a certain page that we want to refactor, we review this information. Once we have this at hand, we contact the community. We discuss the community, we run interviews, we run surveys, we run user studies, just so we have enough information to start our design process. After that is done, we go through the dream phase, where we sit internally, we review what we did in the past 2 bullets, and then we define what we want to modify, how we want to enhance a certain functionality. We go to our user experience team, and we go to the design phase. We create a prototype, we create a wireframe, anything we can in order to present to the community member our thoughts from the previous bullets, from our research. We bring these thoughts into a prototype where we present it in a form, usually in a form of a user study. So we go back to the users, which we spoke in the definition phase, and we tell them, hey, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you for sharing your pain points. We created a prototype, and we want you to review it. We want to get your thoughts on the prototype. Once we get the user's feedback or the community feedback, we will not go to the development phase. I wish we could have gone to the development phase, but normally there are additional feedbacks that we get. So we have a prototype, we present it to the community, and we get feedback. So we skip the development phase, we go back to the definition, we go back to the dream, we fine-tune whatever we thought was our assumptions, whatever we thought was the design, we've fine-tuned in order to address what we've heard in the design phase. Then, if needed, we'll go and run even another user study just to make sure that our assumptions are in place, that our design will address the community's needs. Once this is met, we go and we develop the functionality. This does not mean that we release the new functionality. We develop it according to the research, according to the user studies, and then we contact a dedicated focus group in order to share with them the development, have them test it out either in their sandbox or in their production environments. We get their feedback and we go again in the circle and we fine-tune the development until we get a confirmation from the early testing group stating that the functionality is great or the functionality is good and it's ready to be released to the general community. This circle is a point where we do in small enhancement, in large enhancement, and it helps us make sure that we are on track. And the points where you see the arrows, these are the points where I want to thank the community, because every time we communicate with you, we benefit, we get your insight, and by that, we support the greater community needs. Thanks again. I will pass the control now to Alan in order for him to present you an overview of the various working groups. Alan?
Thanks, Noam. My name's Alan Jones. I'm from the New School in New York City. I'm the Director of Digital Library and Technical Services there. And I'm also the current chair of the steering committee for the Ex Libris users of North America. I just also want to give a shout out to our sister organization, IGLU, which is the international group of Ex Libris users. Between the two communities, we make up the global community of the Ex Libris customer base. I wanted to put up a slide just to explain a little bit about what how the groups are actually organized. The large group of Illuna actually has things called advisory groups, product working groups, and communities of practice. The advisory groups, whoops, hold on a second, are really meant to be kind of short-term groups that are actually focused on specific topics. That could be things like GDPR. It could be things like enriching the Central Discovery Index and these types of things. And then there are task forces that are actually really short types of things, like we had problems with keeping passwords into in Alma, and we had to come up with a short-term solution regarding how that was done. All props go to Bar Weinstein for this. He actually was the one who got the community together. He got a number of subject matter experts together. We met in very short spurts of a week, sometimes 2 weeks apart. We had a solution in place within 6 weeks. Went to testing and went through that exact process that Noam was talking about. The product groups are probably where people have the most interaction with the community. And if you've ever participated in an enhancement vote, you know, or kind of have a sense of what their work is. They're working either on a monthly or sometimes even more frequent basis with the folks over on the Ex Libris side to really engage and represent the community and advocate for specific types of features, enhancements. They're also the ones who conduct the enhancement process. There's also the communities of practice, and those are subject matter experts who actually work in areas like linked open data, special collections, analytics. We have a new group that's going to be spinning up around consortial issues. So not only are there the product-specific issues, but there are also the cross-product issues that are represented. Now, a few key things to be aware of in terms of some of the things that we're looking at. You can see here that there are some advisory groups that that are currently going on. The authentication group that finished its work. Controlled digital lending is something that you may have seen features on that have been spinning up both in Alma D as well as in Alma and Primo. Shared infrastructure was something that we worked with around moving and transitioning different types of products from locally hosted material or locally hosted software over to SaaS, and again, the CDI advisory group. You'll also see that one of the initiatives that we're looking to pursue after the group is, the CDI advisory group is looking to do, is really focus on the shared knowledge base and content related issues. Some of the task forces I've already spoken about. There is one kind of group that I want to give a particular shout out, and this is the regional user groups. These are the groups like ENUG or the Great Lakes user groups, affectionately known as GLUG. These are groups that actually meet within specific regions within states, and they also have annual meetings as well. The ENUG meeting itself, which is coming up very soon in October, promises to have well over 100 people in attendance. So one of the things that's nice about these regional groups is if you want to know about people in your area who are dealing with the same types of things, go to those types of meetings and you'll actually have some really amazing networking opportunities. You can see here a listing of the product working groups that are here and the products that actually have enhancement processes, as well as the community of practice and subject matter experts that I was talking about. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to David Pate. David?
Thank you, Alan. So just real quickly, because I just love data, I'd like to go ahead and start off with a poll. If you wouldn't mind submitting your answers, it'll take about 30 seconds for everyone to put in their information. Sorry. You can click, if you'll click on the window, it should display. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show the results. And this is what we have here is like about half of the people here are participating in listservs, which is good. And we have about roughly 22% are doing in the Luna Igloo conferences. What I really like seeing here is the ideal exchange. About a third of us are doing that, and we do look like we have a fair mix of other people involved in other parts of the community, and about a little over a third are not currently involved at all.
Thank you, David. And I think now we'll start with the main event, the questions that we have for our panelists. Let's start with the first question. What are the most valuable ways to engage with and impact the development of ALMA and other Ex Libris services? In other words, how can the community impact ALMA's roadmap? David, do you want to start?
Sure. So to start off with the topic, actually this plays right into the results of the poll, but I always encourage people that I meet at eLuna and Igloo to join the listservs and participate, especially on the community of practice listservs. If you're a member of those, there's often a lot of we basically are a partnership community within those listservs. We help each other out. If you're not already a part of the analytics listserv and you're interested in that, I really do encourage that, because we really do help each other out. We interact with one another. We submit questions, concerns, problems that we're having, developing queries, saying this doesn't seem to be working quite right. How can I help? And we always say that we're all learners. We're all learning together, and there's no right or wrong question, as there's no right or wrong answer, because a lot of times there can be multiple answers to a specific problem, especially when you're developing some type of analytic query.
Christina, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm Christina Hennessy from California State University. I was happy to see all the different things on the poll. I've done all of those at some point, but I really want to recommend folks go back and look at Alan's slide from a few slides ago that had all these different groups on it. And some of those are elected and some of those are volunteer. And just going to webinars like this, you'll see, oh, there's a new group that I didn't know about. And then with a little bit of work, you could ask anybody who's on this panel. You can find out how to be involved in those groups. And then you find out about all the groups. So that's what I recommend.
Thank you, Christina. Charlie?
Yeah, I'm Charlie Remy from Dartmouth College. And, there are so many ways to get involved. I think my favorite ways are, first of all, attending conferences face-to-face. There's a lot of just access to staff from Ex Libris and other users in the community. That's so helpful. And then working groups really, I think, are the most valuable way to influence product development, because we build collaborative relationships with the product managers. I mean, we're meeting with the product managers monthly. And we're communicating with them back and forth via Basecamp and email. And we're really helping them to prioritize enhancements that have the greatest impact on the global user community.
Thanks, Charlie. I agree that Alan spoke about networking in these conferences. So to me, I see these opportunities in the group to network with product and with members of the community. Catherine, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the regional user groups, I want to put in, as Alan did, a special plug for those, because I think those are really, especially if you're new to the Ex Libris world or the Luna or Igloo worlds, it's a lot. There's a lot out there. So I think the regional user groups are a great way to get involved. And also the enhancements, as a co-chair of a working group, I'll put in a plug for that. Because we really need you to vote. That's something that Ex Libris is required to, whatever enhancements go through, Ex Libris is required to develop those within the next year. So it's a really important part of our relationship with Ex Libris as we work through those. And the focus groups are also where a lot of, I think, development happens sometimes that is kind of sometimes maybe too big for the enhancement process. So that's another great one to get involved with.
Gradual engagement, I like it. Alan, you want to wrap up this question?
Yeah, I just want to say something that Catherine talked about that I think is unique among the Ex Libris and community relationship, and that's the shared software agreement. We actually have an enhancement process and an agreement that anybody can go to the website and download, so you can actually get a sense of what the process is. The working groups are doing their best to put together these user stories, to work with the community to get as much detail as they possibly can. There's a process that the wider community will actually vote on. Based on that, there will be some prioritizing and everything as far as the products. And that's really the way that the community shapes the product, is through this enhancement process. It's unique, as far as I know, to the industry. And it's something that is reviewed every year. Every time there's a new product, every time there's a new initiative, we look at the development bandwidth and we work with the steering committees as well as the working groups to try to get additional bandwidth in some places, but maybe there may be other places that, things need to be repurposed. Case in point was the content, or the CDI, or the Central Discovery Index. There we actually looked at focusing a certain number of development points around content and indexing of the CDI. That's a direct example of how the community is actually directing Ex Libris in some of its development.
Definitely, Alan. I couldn't agree with you more. Our development is really towards community-driven perspective. Let's move on to the next question with your permission. How have you or members of your library impacted the development of ALMA? Can you share a story about your achievements in this area? Catherine, do you want to start?
Sure. Thanks, Tom. So I'm actually going to start with this is something that would have fit on Noam's slide with all the circles in terms of a user study. So in addition to being co-chair of the ALMA working group, I'm also on the ALMA UX focus group. And one recent example of input and hopefully impact was through a one-to-one user study on the all title search. So Ex Libris is updating the UI for various searches in ALMA, and included in that is the all title search. And they're also looking especially at the expand all options, which are currently there. And so how that works as a member of a focus group is somebody from Ex Libris puts out a call that they're interested in talking to people on about a one-to-one user study. I volunteered, and then I had an hour-long meeting with someone from Ex Libris, and the session was recorded about, and they watched me, we did screen sharing, et cetera, going through an all title search, something that I don't think about a lot in my daily work. I use it a lot, but I don't necessarily think about what I'm doing. And so Ex Libris asked lots of questions about why I was doing one thing or the other, but which sometimes I don't realize why I'm doing something or not. But it was really interesting because a search I don't necessarily think a lot about. Ex Libris was very interested in why I was doing certain things. And then they also showed some sort of mock-ups of what they were thinking, and we talked about that and how I might go to one thing or the other. And so so that was in the spring and or late spring, and since then Ex Libris they haven't released they haven't released it all, but we've seen where they're going with the all title search. And so based on that user feedback I feel like from myself and from others in the UX focus group, and Ex Libris is really, I'll just say I was pleased to see that what I wanted with the all title search has continued to be there, which is the expand all functionality. So that's been something that's, fun to participate in, and it feels like Ex Libris, it does feel like Ex Libris is listening with their questions, and then they're trying to, compile all this feedback from everyone. And I'll quickly say from the working group side, a lot of what we do is helping functional experts manage and prioritize issues as they bring those up to Ex Libris or through the steering committees with Luna and Igloo. So yes, I'm happy to talk more about the UX focus group if people have questions after this meeting.
I just want to say that the next step, I think, after your user studies will be having you and your institution become early testers of the alt title search. So hopefully you will see it in 2024. Charlie, any thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the overlap analysis focus group that I participated in. It was several folks from the acquisition subgroup of the Alma product working group and the content working group. You know, the Alma overlap analysis functionality was really lacking. In fact, interestingly, it was behind what had already been available for years through the Serial Solutions 360 product. And so when library budgets were really uncertain at the beginning of the pandemic, I really pushed Ex Libris to focus on developing more robust overlap analysis functionalities in Alma outside of the traditional enhancement process, because we were in a real financial crisis, and a critical way of dealing with budget cuts is figuring out what is duplicate of what's unique, that type of thing, for it's actionable decisions to cancel or to renew resources. So we worked with the Alma product managers to discuss user stories, develop functional requirements, reviewed prototypes, and then early access testing. I mean, it took the better part of a year, but I am really proud of the work that we accomplished together. And I'm hoping that it has a positive impact on the daily workflow of Alma users across the world. I personally use this functionality almost weekly. And so I just want to thank Donna Moshkovitz for supporting this in her role as Alma product manager and for making it happen.
Thanks, Charlie. And I think just to make sure you're aware, when we get ideas exchange, we know that people are using the functionality. So we are getting lots of ideas exchange around the overlap analysis. Rest assured, people are using it, and we get positive feedback. Christina?
So another thing that I'd recommend, especially if you find an area in Alma or Prima or any of the Ex Libris products that you're really interested in, present on it, because then people will come to you. So I presented at eLuna on Alma letters, and somebody came up to me afterwards and said, hey, we're doing a focus group on early testing of the new Alma letters interface. And so if I hadn't presented, I don't know if people would have known I was interested in that. And that was great. That was great to be able to get in there and test right away, say things like, this message doesn't make sense, or this part is confusing, or this part is great. And it was so great to be involved at the development at that level. And then I've also had an enhancement in Alma that was voted forward in this last year, and got to be part of working with Ex Libris there, where they said, well, how does this look? Is this what you wanted to do? And that was really exciting to be able to help that way.
That's an amazing example. You know, when I presented my sketch, one of the first things we do is we research. And part of our research is going to conferences and listen to people like Christina talk about the letters, and reaching out to them and say, hey, Christina, can you help us? Thank you, Christina. A great example. Alan?
So back in 2015, there was a meeting in Budapest, Hungary around the new UI in Primo. And there was a lot of concern about kind of the direction that Ex Libris was taking in terms of the customization. It was basically, it was going to be kind of a what you see is what you get type of deal. People would be able to edit CSS. They'd be able to upload a logo. But that was effectively kind of what the first phase of customization was going to be for the Primo UI. There was a ton of collaboration over the next 2 years, so much so that we actually paused the enhancement process for a year in order to actually get everything done. We met with Miri Botzer and some of the folks, Guy Ben Parat, as well as others. We wound up having 10 folks go to Jerusalem to have a week-long kind of summit around this, around how Primo developers would actually want to develop the discovery interface. That later became the customization framework that we're all using in order to customize the interface. It's the customization framework that's being, the Angular JS framework that's actually being used by SpringShare, by Third Iron and others to actually integrate with the Primo interface as well. In a similar way, we had another summit on Primo VE that specifically looked at both the customization issues as well as kind of comparisons with back office. And we also did, we're also going to be ramping up some development opportunities for the new Angular-based interface that's going to be announced shortly as well. So I think, you know, the customization framework as it started was literally sketched out on a napkin in a bar. No joke, it was like us just basically sketching on a beer-laden table exactly how we would actually write code over it. And that later became the customization framework. And so there are those types of opportunities, particularly with what Charlie was saying in terms of some of the face-to-face opportunities that are probably the most engaging and have the most impact. Those happen through the working groups, it happens through the face-to-face conferences. A lot of times it actually happens through the listservs. A lot of things around analytics and data dictionary issues actually happen around a bunch of fervor and some crazy analytics folks talking about the need for documentation and what that actually looks like. So I think there are a number of personal stories that any of us could pull from there, but those are some of the ones that I'm most proud of.
And I think the customization or personalization is the best example, because if we wouldn't have talked to users, how would we know how would they want to customize their Primo or Alma? Thanks, Alan. David, do you want to wrap up this question?
Sure. So just a quick bit of background. I'm the coordinator or chair of the analytics community of practice. In 2022, I had an opportunity to attend Igloo in Cardiff. And during that conference, I had a European institution that approached me regarding some concerns on the local parameter limitations within analytics. And if there was anything that the analytics COP could do anything about this to address the situation. Ironically, right at the same time, from a different European institution, I got a request on the analytics listserv for something very similar. And this led to writing support documentation that in turn laid the foundation for an expansion of the number of local parameter fields, which should be forthcoming fairly soon, and to expand the functionality of local parameters to include the gradual implementation of indicators and subfields. So the moral of the story is be involved, make suggestions. It does impact the community, and it does improve the products.
Definitely. Thank you, David. Let's move on to the next question with your permission. What are some of the ways that you find Ex Libris contributing to the community's engagement? Charlie, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, you know, Ex Libris has a really strong culture of collaboration as an organization. It's part of the culture there at Ex Libris. And with the user community, and makes its product managers easily accessible to those of us actually using the products. This is what differentiates Ex Libris and ProQuest from other library vendors, where their product managers could be just not customer facing is the word that is used to describe that. They're hidden. And I don't understand how you can be an effective product manager if you're not directly talking to customers that are using your products. So, you know, Ex Libris PMs are responsive to customer concerns and often follow through with adding items to the roadmap or reprioritizing fixes so they're implemented more quickly. Being involved in product working groups provides customers with the opportunity to develop an ongoing rapport with product managers. And it can be valuable when I find myself in a situation where I feel like I'm getting the runaround from support about an issue. for example, a bug is being considered an enhancement request, I can forward that to the product manager and say, could you please take a look at this? I don't think this is an enhancement. This is a bug that should be fixed. And I get a response from them. And I'm very, very appreciative of that.
Yeah, you may have communicated with me once or twice, Charlie. Thank you. David, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to focus on the partnership with Ex Libris. The analytics community practice has an excellent liaison with Raphael Gabby. We affectionately call him Rafi, and he's a big advocate for our community. We don't always get everything we want within Ex Libris, but he does advocate for us and tries to do his best to try to represent us. I want to share this quote he recently posted on LinkedIn, Rafi, when he said that when I joined Ex Libris over 2 years ago, one aspect that truly amazed me was the company's unique collaboration with its user community. It's not just a slogan, it's hours of meaningful meetings, user studies, discussions, and significant contributions from librarians, all aimed at delivering the best tools for their peers. I think we can sum up that's really what this is all about. Having Rafi in that mediator role has really been a major difference with the analytics community of practice.
Thanks, David. I will be sure to pass it to Rafi. Good feedback. Alan, do you want to give us your thoughts?
Sure. So the other folks have been talking a lot about product development. On the steering committee, I think one of the things that we think about is what the community's relationship is with Ex Libris, and more importantly, I think it's actually kind of cool that we can spin up advisory groups about different things, because one of the things we want to enhance is Ex Libris itself as a company. So one of the things that we're actually going to be spinning up, and folks are going to be seeing a call for membership around this, is a support advisory group, a group that actually focuses on the support and customer service delivery, so we can actually look at different types of metrics to make the experience better. So this is something that the community is taking very seriously. And while it's not going to necessarily result in a enhancement process for technical support, I think it is going to kind of help us get the feedback in an organized way to Ex Libris, so that we can collectively improve. And I think that one of the things I take really to heart is not only are folks like Bar Weinstein in the academic and government within Clarivate taking this very seriously, but Yariv is also taking it very seriously. The senior management across the board, we have bi-monthly meetings with them, and they're asking a lot of the same questions that we're asking, but on a different side. How can we improve that? How can we close the, help the situation with support in terms of improving communication? How can we let somebody know where their ticket is in a process of resolution? These types of things are things that are actually enhancing the company and not just the product. And so I think these are other opportunities that people can actually get involved in that are really exciting. It's a different type of relationship than we've had with Ex Libris in the past. But I'm really excited to see what both sides can actually do.
I love this perspective. I think that as a community thinking outside the box, not only what can we enhance in the product, but also how can we help Ex Libris improve. It's an amazing perspective, and support is one thing, but if you can think of any other elements as a community, we'll be happy to listen. Christina?
So I have a quick thing to add to what everyone else had said here. As someone who works in systems, I really appreciate that Ex Libris really is 24/7, and especially on the listservs. And if there's some problem that has been figured out Sunday or Monday after the feature release, they are on it, and they are posting in the middle of the night, at least to the West Coast of the United States, saying, we're on it, we see what you're talking about in the listserv, and then giving really informative updates on the listserv. So I really appreciate that.
That's another way to use the community. When you raise something in the listserv, it's a way for us to understand that something is happening. So thank you for those of you who are posting. It's important. Keep on doing so. Catherine, you want to wrap up this one?
Yeah, because one of the things I appreciate is that also that Ex Libris doesn't shy away from having difficult conversations with the community. Not to shock anyone, we're not always in full agreement, or so I really appreciate that there's that communication so that we can bring problems with that we identify, or that we think communication should have gone out earlier, or somebody should have been looped in sooner, and then Ex Libris will in fact listen to us and look for ways to hopefully make it different next time. So I appreciate that there's not a you don't just go hide away and say too bad. So that's great.
You just described my wife's and I relationship. I mean, that's a relationship, community and Ex Libris. Thank you, thank you. Let's move on to the next question. I think we have two more. Okay. Where can be greater community collaboration? Where can the community engage more in order to impact the platform's development? Alan, you want to take this one?
Sure. So a lot of the new initiatives that are going on in terms of artificial intelligence is certainly a place that I think has a lot of different concerns and other types of issues that need to be resolved. I mean, certainly one of my favorite groups to work with is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusiveness group in Search, where we dealt with the issue of offensive language being in metadata and what that looks like in terms of how to mediate some of that, or how to address some of it. Some of those features are actually being spun out in terms of CDI enhancements as well. So I think that it's important to see that there are so many different ways that people could actually get involved, and there are areas of interest that are spinning up all the time. One of the ones I was just made aware of a couple of days ago was a CJK interest group that is looking at both North American as well as Asian libraries who are doing cataloging and some of the problems that they're having with indexing, both in Primo as well as Alma. And there are certainly gaps. In fact, one of the things that Catherine said was that we don't always agree. I actually say it this way: we figured out a way for the customer base and Ex Libris to fight productively. And I think that that's important. We may actually have differences of opinion. It's certainly differences of priority of what can get done when. But one of the things I appreciate is that we're all trying to go towards that goal of actually giving better service. And so this whole collaboration is meant to be in that spirit. Yes, they're a for-profit company and other types of issues that people certainly worry about in terms of how much time you may potentially spend in this type of role. My boss actually made a joke one time that he asked, I just want to make sure that you're still working for me, type of deal. And I think there's you can get kind of over involved in certain types of community issues as well. But I think it's important to understand that there's a framework here of actually having an impact. I mean, you can certainly get more, you can be more passive about it, but you may not necessarily get the features that you want.
Thanks, Alan. Charlie?
Yeah, so I'm the co-chair of the Content Working Group, and we would love to have more members from outside Europe and North America, particularly Asia and Africa. If you're from a country outside of Europe and North America whose primary language is not English, and you're interested in content issues like knowledge bases, central index, and provider relations, please let me know. It's really important that our membership on the content working group adequately represents other regions of the world. And to date, it's been really challenging to recruit people from outside of Europe and North America.
I agree. We have a need for different perspective. Catherine?
Yeah, I wanted to echo what Charlie just said. And it would be great. I mean, maybe eventually we will find some way to overcome. I think we have a lot of language and time zone barriers because that makes it easier for people in North America and Europe and Australia to work together on these things. And so it would be great to figure out a way that some of the language barriers in particular, I feel like the time zone barriers are easier to, we can all stay up late every once in a while. They're easier to overcome, but the language barriers in particular are difficult. So it would be great for us to figure out how to manage that. And I will say Alma in particular is, a huge beast, but and we're always, as Alan mentioned, the CJK group that spun up, sort of organically from CJK librarians, just finding those common interests that maybe we haven't recognized yet, and finding those out there.
Just an example that I just noticed it in the past conference that Rafi used our content Italian member. So he had someone from support who spoke Italian come to the meeting in order to be a translator. So these language barriers, I think they can be, we can reach some kind of success here. Christina, you want to wrap up? Sorry, Devin, let's talk about how you see this.
Really, I'm just following up basically on what everyone else has said, and that we're really looking for broader representation from communities, especially in Asian and Latin American institutions. Different regions can often have different data issues, and as such, we need to be able to address their needs in the appropriate manner, and we need that representation to be able to do that. And just a bit of self-advertising. We currently have an Igloo spot. So if anyone knows of an Asian or Latin American institution that would like to join, we'd love to try to work it out, time zones and all, to try to get them involved. Or Africa, yes.
Thanks, David. Christina, you want to wrap up this one?
Sure. So in the poll, we did have something about developers network. And so I wanted to mention that again, that's another way that folks can be involved. If there are so many exciting APIs that you can use in the Ex Libris products, and you might find some solution that folks haven't done before, a cloud app, things like that. I'm on the editorial board for the Code for Lib journal, which is like coding for librarians. And like right now I am editing 3 articles about solutions that people have done in Alma and Primo. So if you're looking for a way to get development in here and also things for your tenure and your promotion, please submit to the Code for Lib journal.
Great, Christina. I think that using the open platform APIs and creating cloud app solutions is a real way for Alma to provide you the tools in order to enhance the system the way that you see fit. So thanks for that. That's a good answer. Okay, we have time for one last question. I'm going to move the slide. What are your recommendations for someone to become more involved? Christina, you want to take this one?
A couple of people have mentioned the regional users groups, and I don't want folks to feel like you can only go to your region, especially during the pandemic. I went to all the ones that were online, especially the ones that were free. So I appreciate all the regional user groups that have put your things online, but it's rather exciting to present to folks outside your region and then also find out ideas that are there. So please don't be afraid of other regional user groups that aren't your region.
Networking also very important. Thank you. Catherine?
Yeah, I would second that. Yes, it's not limited to regions. They're regional, but they're not exclusionary. I would just also encourage people to volunteer to present at sessions, even if it's something you tried but didn't work out. because it's a very welcoming group. So it doesn't have to be perfect if you're interested in something.
Thanks, Catherine. Alan?
When I first started in the community, I started in the rugs in like 2008 to 2010. And it was a way to kind of cut, get used to presenting and doing other work. I think the rugs are a really good place to do that regionally. But certainly present, part of the amazing part of the community is exchanging ideas and seeing what other people are doing, not just seeing your successes, but also learning from your failures. So if there are certain things that don't necessarily work the way you thought they were going to work, that's as much a presentation as the thing that you built. And all of that is incredibly valuable knowledge. I mean, so I highly recommend that people consider presenting, but also one of the things we're also going to be announcing very soon are in the first quarter of next year are going to be open slots in different product working groups and some of those elections. So if you're interested in get involved, whether it's at the regional level or whether it's at the national level or the international user group, there are a whole bunch of different ways that you can get involved.
That's amazing. You can also practice on your presentation skills. David?
I mean, Alan really said it fairly well in terms of just getting involved. I mean, right now, it's an exciting time to be in libraries. I mean, we have artificial intelligence, we have linked open data, there's an ever increasing need for data analysis. We're becoming more and more data driven. We need those passionate librarians to step in and say, hey, here I am. I want to do something. I want to contribute. I have these ideas. Push those ideas forward. The more ideas that are out there, the better as a community we become. And so, start by attending your meetings at Igloo, eLuna, if you're able to. There's a scholarship, I believe, for eLuna to be able to attend for those that can, if you're not able to financially afford it. And then also, respond on the listservs, help people that are needing assistance. Again, we're all in this together, and together as a community, we'll make it a better place.
I agree. The more ideas, the better the community and the better the product. Thank you, David. Charlie?
Yeah, I just want to highly recommend attending the annual Luna and/or Igloo conferences in person. They're a great way to meet other users, learn about best practices, participate in Ex Libris focus groups, learn about Ex Libris strategy for the future, and meet product managers and senior management to discuss concerns. And they actually have the ability to affect changes. In my opinion, face-to-face conferences are more effective venues for professional development than virtual ones because they provide so many opportunities for spontaneous conversations, whether it's at lunch or after a session or and over time, there's a shared sense of community that develops among regular attendees. So I would really try to make it happen. Cobble together funding. There are many different sources of funding. If your library doesn't have the budget to send you, get creative and make it a personal priority, because I think you will really find you'll get a lot out of it.
Definitely try networking with the community and networking with the product team. I think all parties can benefit. With this, I would like to thank very much Charlie, Christina, Catherine, David, Alan for the great panel. And before we move to the Q&A, which you can, of course, write the questions in the Q&A panel, I will pass the control now to Scott Schultz from Ex Libris marketing team and the facilitator of this session for more information about upcoming events. Scott?
Thank you very much, Noam. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating as a panelist today and for all the attendees for attending. Before we go into the Q&A, I'd like to highlight a couple of webinars. The first two are Eluna Learn sessions. They're going to be happening this month. There are going to be more Eluna Learn sessions. They're coordinated by Eluna. This is an excellent example of how to facilitate and engage with the community. The other webinar that's listed there is a Library Journal webinar on linked open data that we're going to be hosting with the Library Journal in November. The link should be posted in the chat, so if you want to join any of those sessions, click on the links. Let's go to the Q&A. We've posted everybody's email addresses there if you have any direct questions for them that weren't necessarily answered during the course of the session. We did get a few questions coming in, and we are about 5 minutes for Q&A. The first question that came in was, are Alma customers only able to submit suggestions and ideas for Alma, or can any member of the community? Alan, do you want to take that?
Yes, sure. So the way that the enhancement process works is that you have to be a licensed customer in order to participate in the enhancement process, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't submit an idea. I think that anybody should feel free about submitting an idea to any of the enhancement processes. Just be aware that you may or may not be able to vote depending on whether you license that product or not. Catherine, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
I was going to add you have to be a member of Eluna, your institution, not a personal member. Your institution needs to be a member of Eluna or Igloo in order to vote for those community enhancements. But any one, right? So many customer can submit something on Idea Exchange and that sort of thing.
Okay, the next question that came in is, how can I start or participate in a local user group if there isn't one, or if there's one nearby? Anybody want to tackle that one?
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly talk a little bit about it. I'm actually trying to find the link here so that people can see. There are a number of groups. Here's the link. You might have to put that in the attendee chat. But here we go. Here are all the regional user groups, as well as their contact information. So if there is a user group that's around in your area, some of them are actually putting on conferences. Like ENUG, as I said, is going to be meeting in the next couple of weeks. So you can get involved by starting there. There are also listservs that are available as well. Hold on a second. If you go to exlibrisusers.org, you'll get a list of the different mailing lists of both the regional as well as the national and international user groups. So you can take a look at that. You can take a look at that group or that website. There are over 100 different lists that are available, so I'm sure that there's something there for somebody. So take a look at that. Take a look at those listservs, and then you'll be able to get information on the different regional and the different national and international events that are going on.
Okay, and then if we can quickly answer the last question that came in, which is, are the end user product enhancement processes restricted only to academic libraries, or are they available to any subscriber to its part of Ex Libris?
They're not restricted to academic or public or library type. We have corporate libraries, we have national libraries, we have special libraries. Shout out to Linda Hall and some of the folks there as well for some of the amazing contributions that they've given around resource sharing. The membership is based on whether you're an Ex Libris customer or not. To join the user groups, you can actually follow that illuna.org or the igloo.org URLs. And if you want to participate, you could become a member that way.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and pass it back to Josh to conclude the session. So thanks everybody for participating today.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. All right. Yeah, let's close things out. Thanks everybody for attending today. And thank you to all of our presenters that participated. Just a reminder, a few of you asked about the recording. Yes, we do record all of our webcasts. If you want to watch the recording, it's usually available a few hours after the live broadcast. So if you missed any part of today's broadcast, or if you want to share this with someone that wasn't able to watch it today, you can do that, like I said, in about a few hours. We'll also send you a reminder email tomorrow, which has the link to the recording. And yeah, if you want to check out any of our other webcasts or online events, online courses, all that good stuff, you can find all that in the events and professional development section at libraryjournal.com. So thanks again, everybody, for attending, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.